It's time for another episode of Podcast Twins.
Podcast Twins, number 2, baby.
Episode number 2. So, I watched since you're a baseball guy, I watched the Phillies Mets with my daughter and my wife on Saturday. And man, that was I'm not a baseball guy, but I think you're making me a baseball guy, at least for the playoffs.
Playoffs in any sport is going to be better. I mean, you don't even have to know what's going on. You can just feel the energy in baseball at this time of year. And like I said, right now with every sport starting, this is incredible. These playoff games are incredible.
Now that I have a void, since I can't watch the unwatchable NBA anymore, I might as well just start watching baseball. Yeah, that's right, Kirsten. I said it's unwatchable.
I think it's just more theatrical. We can actually go all the way back and blame Vlade Divac for bringing that flopping crap in here back in the late 80s, early 90s.
It's all Vlade's fault.
When you saw the 7-foot man, 250 pounds, falling all over the floor because some little point guard ran into him, it just blew my mind. And the refs didn't know what to do. They was like, I guess it's a foul. I don't know.
And now it's soccer. Anyway, so baseball. I watched the Mets Phillies. I really enjoyed that game. Mm-hmm. It was exciting. It was everything that I wanted in a baseball game. There were lead changes, there were home runs, and my daughter, who doesn't watch baseball at all, she likes basketball and jiu-jitsu, was riveted.
Playoff baseball. It's exciting. I like the Phillies. I think the Phillies are a complete squad. They have everything you need to be a very, very, very good baseball team, where the Mets are just they putting it all together. Mm-hmm. I don't think that you look at that lineup card and think, man, the Mets are no. You don't think that at all watching them, but they do the small things right. They run the bases right.
They're hot, and they got hot at the right.
They got hot at the right,
and they beat the Brewers, which everybody that beats the Brewers goes to the World Series for like the last 50 years or some crazy random stat like that, right? You know about that?
That's pretty interesting, because the Brewers have always had a good team in the last 10 years. They've always had a good squad. They just can never put it together. Mm-hmm. But again, I think the Phillies should beat the Mets in the series. They should beat the Mets in the series, and they can, but they got the bigger bats all around. That's for sure. And so I think it'll come out where Philly will win. But
you kind of begrudgingly took the chalk pick of the Dodgers, and they got their heads handed to them by the Padres the other night too.
But tonight you better watch that series. You might find 2 fights. It might look like hockey. We might have hockey on the baseball diamond, because right now the Dodgers and the Padres, they have real beef, real bad blood beef. It's going to be, somebody's going to get thrown at today. They threw a ball at the Dodgers manager the other day. And he was like, what's going on? And so that almost broke out into a fight then. But and they thought that the Dodgers hit their player on purpose, which, hey, in today's world,
maybe
when you showtime and highlight running around the bases, it might happen, it might not happen. I know back when I was playing ball, if you pimped your way around the bases like that next guy he didn't dig in, because he knew it was coming somewhere around his head, right in the middle of his back. Usually, right, if you wore 2 numbers, they went right in between the 2 numbers, and that way you couldn't get out the way.
Fair enough.
But that was baseball. That was baseball, just like NBA used to be tough. But anyway, that's a whole different ballgame.
Well, you mentioned hockey, so we would be remiss if we did not mention opening night of hockey season this evening as well, which is the Florida Panthers are going to hoist the Stanley Cup up in front of the Boston Bruins.
That's awesome. Again, having a championship down here, again, being a new hockey guy, maybe a fight might break out tonight, make me happy.
I believe there will be fights tonight, because Boston wants revenge.
Yeah.
Even though game 1 of the regular season is not the same as getting your butts kicked in the playoffs.
But when you have to watch that thing go in the rafters, man, it touches your soul a little bit differently. I believe that in my heart. You got to watch these guys celebrate. Now, are we going to have the championship let down like most other teams? When you hoist the trophies or give the rings, they usually lose that night. So hopefully they can save that celebration till after the game.
Well, unless you're the Chiefs and it's rigged for you to win. That's right, I said that. What, you don't call the National Football League the real NFL, the National Fix League?
I really,
am I too conspiracy for you
absolutely,
right now?
Absolutely not.
All
because
right.
the big run they had at the fourth quarter yesterday when Kelsey literally mugged the guy in the hole, no foul called, and the series before when they were on defense, the guy barely tugged his shirt. It barely moved like that. They called a holding penalty, which brought a major run back. So listen, the referees watch the game too.
Hold on, I got a stat for you.
Go.
How many holding penalties do the Chiefs have in the last 10 years in the Super Bowl?
Ooh, and
just give me a number. It could be any number you want. How many holding penalties?
I'm going to go with 0.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah, those games run fluidly. But I'm gonna call the Mahomes effect on referees the Jordan effect. Sometimes they get caught watching the game instead of literally watching what they should do. I don't know if you saw that move that he did last night when he did the little step in and pull away. It looked like Allen Iverson breaking ankles out there, except he wasn't dribbling. I couldn't believe that's what he did.
You're more than welcome to call it the Jordan effect. I got another name for it.
What do you call it?
The Vegas effect.
Okay. Hey, listen. And Vegas finally made it to Florida, so
the Vegas effect. We're on the Vegas effect.
Look, it's hard to deny that certain teams financially are more prevalent to be in the Super Bowls and baseball World Series, and you'll start seeing some really bad baseball calls here coming real soon, depending on how tight the games get. So,
okay,
look, it's human nature.
Okay,
it's human nature. But again, I call it the Jordan effect because you're watching this guy and you want to see the cool stuff that he does, as opposed to literally calling the game. Because in football, you can get a holding penalty on every single play if you really wanted to. It's inevitable. The rules say as an offensive guard, tackle, center, I can, as long as I got you inside of here, I can literally grab the breastplate of your shoulder pads. Mm-hmm. But if you turn this way, now I'm holding you because I can't pull you back.
Oh, I get it. And Madden used to say all the time, every single episode of Monday Night Football that he was on, holding could be called on every single play.
Within the rules, because you just told me I can hold you
100%.
But when that guy makes a turn, I got to suddenly be conscious enough in this battle with 200-300 pounders to let this hand go, and then I can't push you down because it looks like I'm holding you and drove you to the ground.
So my official statement on that is, of course, it's not fixed. It's just a coincidence.
I like coinky dinks. They happen.
Sorry, what was that weird noise? Anyway,
it happens. But again, you pick and choose when you call certain plays. Sucks.
Yeah. But
it picks and chooses when it causes it, and when it just so happens to come within the spread, those are the miracles.
Well, I mean, look at the Kings. Hurricanes. Last 2 weeks in a row. My favorite team. We threw up the U.
Threw up the U, baby.
But nothing but controversy. I mean, look, great comeback.
Yes.
However, what about
some questionable calls?
What about the questionable calls?
Questionable calls.
So they were there. I mean, it's
and you had already had one major team that had already bit the dust that day. Could you really suffer too?
Look, man, that's one of those weird. Like, how does Vanderbilt, the worst team in the SEC, arguably beat Alabama, the number 1 team in the country? Because
you have a lot of talent that came in. We talked about it in episode 1. The transfer portal does not allow much time for gelling. You can have all of these fantastic players, but they literally had about a month and a half to 2 months of camp to train together because they just coming in. And now, because they're a 5-star player, you got to put them in the starting lineup. You got to let them play, but they're not used to playing together. And look at the kid who was throwing the tantrum on the defensive side, throwing his mouthpiece and went up and kicked the ball on the Saban team. You would have never seen that.
Not in a million years.
That guy would have been buried under the bench. I don't care what level of starter he was, but as I said, you got no power now. These kids are getting paid NIL money.
Yeah.
They, what you gonna tell that kid?
Well, you've hit something on the head there. I saw a video of Bobby Knight, Coach Knight, back when he was at Indiana, talking about how the greatest motivator is putting kids' ass on the bench.
Yes.
He said the ass goes on the bench, and the bench sends a signal through the ass to the brain. Yeah. That's the best motivator. And I'm paraphrasing. I may not have gotten it perfect, but that's what he said.
I'm pretty sure Bobby Knight had a few more expletive words in there. Yeah.
I'm not verbatim, but he did say ass like 12 times.
Because nothing works like that. Nothing works like taking a player who has been told since he was 5 years old, because he was the best player in the neighborhood, best player in Little League baseball, football, basketball, whatever the Little Leagues was, and he finally makes it to the collegiate level. And now you run into him, and you now are the first coach that have the balls to put this kid on the bench and leave him there and forget about him until he humbles himself and learn how to go out there and work.
I'll tell you, as a now retired head coach of 15 and 16-year-old basketball last summer,
now
my
retired?
son's team.
You hung him up?
I'll tell you why I retired. I retired because you can't bench a kid for missing practice, for not listening, for having a bad attitude, because the Cooper City Optimist, in all their infinite wisdom, has a restriction on how many minutes every kid plays per half.
No.
And if you don't, they give you an endless amount of technical fouls, and they tell the teenage referees, just screw these guys.
Okay.
So I don't know how else I could have gotten around motivating them and getting them to listen. I did a poor job of it, because the only kids that listened were the kids that had tough parents, which was only about half the team. Yeah, and I'll single out the one, and this is stereotyping, so don't throw a baseball bat at me, but the Spanish kids, they listened. They cut to the basket, they played defense, and they did what they were supposed to do. I had one kid whose parents were originally from Russia. Okay. And same thing. Cut to the basket, played defense, didn't bomb threes, which we talked about is, you can't have 15 and 16-year-old kids thinking they're Steph. Yes. Because they are not Steph. If Kobe missed 15 shots in a row, you knew that he was just going to keep shooting, and then he was going to start making them. Right. These kids kept shooting them and kept missing them. It was the most frustrating, and you didn't have the threat of ass to bench that Bobby Knight was talking about. So I said, you know what? I think unless my daughter wants to play sports again in the next, and take a break from jiu-jitsu, or if she's going to play golf, I'll let Coach Sean teach her, because he's a pro and I am not. But I don't think I want to coach teenage boys ever again.
I coached baseball, football, basketball once, but I did myself a favor that I never would run into that situation, because I would never coach in the league that gave me mandatory minutes. I absolutely would not do it. I would not put my kid in there. I would not pay the sign-up fees, and I damn sure was never going to coach in those leagues. Had many opportunities they offered. I was like, thank you, but no thank you. If a kid must play, I can't be coaching in that league.
So are there still rec leagues like that, or that doesn't exist
now?
Anymore?
Those are called travel leagues.
Travel leagues.
And which is now that it's officially called travel leagues, now that's why I'm retired coaching. Because now you got the one parent who feels like, well, I paid first and my kid should play. I have to constantly go back and remind them, did you read the rules, and did you hear what the assistant coach told you, that this is not a pay-for-play league? And the last league I coached in, we gave them the first 3 weeks to get their money back.
Okay.
Please come get your money back. If you think that it's not, because...
Well, here's your dilemma then. What happens when the G-Pips come to G-Pop and say, hey, Grandpa, G-Pop, we want you to coach us. And you can't find a league that doesn't have that because of, again, the wussification of America that we talked about in the first episode. How do you get around it when there are no leagues anymore?
Well, there's always going to be the leagues, because they're always going to be the travel leagues. The problem is with the travel leagues is you got to almost take out a mortgage to play in those leagues. But there is always going to be that league that you can find. You may have to drive a little bit for. You may have to work. It's just not going to be in your neighborhood park, unfortunately. I pray that day comes back, but it's just not there. But yes, they will be well trained prior to them going in there. Because I'm not the parent, the grandparent that says, "Oh, little Timmy, you need to have an activity, and I want you to go out here. What you pick one?" Because that's the parent that'd be like, "Well, Timmy didn't feel like practicing today," and that parent makes you want to completely vomit over everything that's in front of you. So the one baseball league I did coach in Deerfield Little League, they implemented that because they wanted to officially qualify for the Little League World Series, and they had that rule.
Okay.
That every kid must play, get one at bat and 2 innings in the field. Now, I assistant coached on that. I still wouldn't head coach because I couldn't stomach it.
Okay.
And so we're doing that, and that league. Fortunately, the head coach was a bigger ass than me, which I absolutely loved it. I would have loved to work with that guy forever. And he told the parent, "Listen, you would do me a bigger favor if you just got out the league, just because you only got him here because he's friends with these kids here. This kid doesn't practice hard. He doesn't want to do anything at this point. And now we're beyond that 7, 8, 9-year-old league. Now we're 12, 13. Your kid should be trying to at least go somewhere and go to high school and try to make the high school squad." This kid wouldn't have had an opportunity if every kid in high school broke his leg. He would have not made that squad. And so, but we had to put him in the game. We had to make him. We had to find creative ways to put him in there. So literally, he would put him in there, the leadoff batter, and go play the field right away. Go have a seat, and it worked. Sometimes it cost us early, but at least we never had to get caught like most teams waiting to the end of the game or right when the game is tight. It's 5-5, and you need who tip. Yeah, you didn't have to have that moment. Get them out the way. So again, this all goes back to, if you want your kid to play sport, please don't let the first time that kid touch that sport is when you bring him to my practice.
I'll go a step further.
Take him in the backyard. Throw him a ball.
I'll go a step further.
I don't care if you're the grandmother.
I'll go a step further. If your kid is not going to be a team player because they think they're better than everybody else at whatever the team sport is, put them in golf or tennis and let them get humbled. Because if they're not the best basketball player and they are the best tennis or golf player, good, Godspeed.
Right.
But if they stink, guess what? They can't blame themselves. They can't blame the ref. They can't blame the opponent. They can't blame their teammates. They can only blame themselves. Let them get humbled.
They won't blame themselves. They're going to blame the opponent for cheating. They're going to say that we need a referee on the court.
If they lose enough, they'll go try something else. But don't bring down an entire team with your cancerous, crappy attitude.
100%. Go
play tennis or golf or racquetball or whatever else is a one-on-one sport, and then let the kid learn that maybe, they've been sold a bill of goods by telling them how wonderful they are their whole life, and let them get humbled. Getting humbled is a good thing.
It is a good thing. I just, the problem is the parents won't allow them to get humbled. I'll give you another. I was coaching the Boca Jets football team, and I just left Deerfield, came to Boca. Now this is not a pay-for-play league. Mm-hmm. We're out there doing it. And it was some wealthy parents. I was not used to dealing with this level of wealth. And this guy came and signed these 3 kids up right away. They were good little hard working, hustling kids. But again, we let them know this is hey, we're going to play the best players we can. But as a coach, as a development coach, I always said, I'm going to develop your kid. And the moment that kid can go out there and protect himself and be able to have a good time, but I'm not concerned about him getting hurt, I promise you I'm going to play him, because I want kids to play. Mm-hmm. I want them to get a taste of it, especially if we're a good team, and we were a good team.
Well, they got to have the right attitude before
these kids had great attitudes. Okay, but here's where the problem came, because they were small, slow, but they were great kids. They came to practice every day. As my team started to fill out and started to develop, the bigger, stronger, faster, more developed college football players came in there. So I started preparing these other underdeveloped kids. So I would almost have 2 different practices. So we tried to move this thing forward. Well, the wealthy parents just finally got fed up with it. They was like, look, here's what the deal is. We just don't understand. The guy came to me and said, but I paid first. That means nothing. I mean, who paid first, who played last? It's what happens between these white lines. But so long story short, at the end of that season, he took his money and organized an entire league just to compete against us.
How'd that go?
I kicked his ass. I hung 70 points on him at halftime.
That's a lot of points.
At halftime. And this was a scrimmage. And I asked him, did he want to keep going? My kids, we sent 2 kids off to the hospital. Not dirty plays, clean plays. And I said to him, man, what are you doing? What are you teaching these kids? Mm-hmm. You're just teaching the kids that if I have the money, I can do whatever I want to do. I'm like, that's not getting any of those kids better. And but part of that is also a reason why I stepped away. I like developing kids. That's my real passion, is to develop kids, which is why I work with the Capital Leagues. I want to develop these kids. I want to have them turn into something. And especially you're talking about sport. I love it because the lesson you learn in sport, especially the individual sports, track and field, tennis, my kids did both. Mm-hmm. My kids ran track every year. They played tennis and competed in tennis, and one went all the way through college on a tennis scholarship. So I understand the power of individual sports as well as, these team sports. But it's the parent got to get the hell out the way. So when I ran practice, from the time after they became like 9 years old, parents, you couldn't talk to them. Don't say a word during practice. Just stay out of there. You will watch, but don't say nothing to me. My assistant coaches was always, shout out to you, Chris. He took care of me because he would always go and deal with the parents because I only wanted to talk to the kids. Mm-hmm. And when practice was over, you would see the gravy train, the parents follow me to my car. And I'm like, didn't Chris just talk to you a second ago? Because I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to interact. I only wanted to deal and develop those kids. So who's the real problem?
We already know the parents.
Okay, so there you go. That's the real problem because, now again, as I told you last episode, my mom paid $25 for me to play baseball. Mm-hmm. If they had practice twice a week and we played 2 games a week, they was going to see me 4 days a week. If I had a cold, she was going to give me some cold medicine and you was going to go out there and play.
The only way I missed a practice if I was vomiting profusely and I couldn't walk because I was so sick. Yeah. And I think that happened once in like 8 years, maybe twice in 8 years. So that's the problem. And I played basketball and I'm undersized and I'm the wrong color, arguably, to play basketball in America. I'm 5'5". I'm 5'5", 160. I am not 6'5", 260, right?
And that's fully grown and developed.
And I was always the runt when I was a kid, but I played a mean point guard and I was smart and I could pass. I could find the big guy. If you were on my team playing power forward, I knew how to draw your defender and then get you the ball so that you could score. And I played defense. Boxing one, I was the one.
Okay.
Go foul out if you have to.
Right. Yeah.
But do not let that guy score. He's the best guy on the team.
Do not get outworked.
And I fouled out of a few games, and that was okay. And my dad was oftentimes my coach, so I wanted to hustle more because my dad was the coach. And he told me, I don't care if you foul out. You got 5 fouls to give, and if you only give 4 fouls and the guy scores 20 points, you failed.
It's kind of like taking a mulligan home with you. You don't get no cash value for it.
Yeah, you can't. Well, I mean, what'd you do in your golf tournament? You sold mulligans, everybody used all their mulligans and maybe then some, depending on how many cocktails they had that day. So,
but that's what it comes down to, man. Who's the hustler? Now, even as I was coaching kids, especially as I was getting into the high school area, I used to tell them, for every inch you are short, you got to be a 10th faster. So you can't run a 4.8 and be 5'6". That no sport is there going to work, unless you are a power hitter in baseball or power pitcher. You have to have something that stands out when you're short.
Yeah.
Because when scouts come, they come and look like this, and I was always here, but they would come and do this. And when what I get noticed is during the game when they were looking at someone else, and I would do something to take that away. Mm-hmm. So that's the way it works. And when you understand that, it should make you go out and work harder if you have work ethic.
Yeah.
So other than that, you get kids that throw helmets down and just get mad that they got smoked out there on the field, flinging bats around and doing things of that nature.
Those become the same people we don't want to play golf with more than one time because we see them throw a club or get pissed off or, slow down their play or run or rush through it or whatever. And that's not the people you want to play golf. And it's not the people you want to do business with.
Right.
Either.
Right. Yeah.
And, Curfton, you mentioned Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's big news again.
Differently?
She's retiring.
Stop it.
From the WNBA.
Stop it.
Is that not correct?
Stop it.
That's what I hear.
Stop.
I'm serious. She's supposed to be going to play in Europe now, allegedly.
But they all play in Europe on the off season because they'd make more money over there.
And not come back, supposedly.
Nah, that ain't going to happen. Yeah. Her endorsement money is here in the States. The team money she's going to make in Europe is insane.
Sports is going to up.
Absolutely.
I mean, female basketball.
Female basketball. Well, track and field they're making money in track and field now. All the female sports, I believe, are on their way up. Obviously, soccer has increased their membership, as far as viewership on television. So, yeah, but basketball right now, I'd
actually like to see more ladies golf on TV. I wish they had more televised ladies golf because those women, and I talked about this on the On Par podcast with Coach Sean Kicker, and they tell you, and I get golf, the algorithms on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn even will send you the stuff you talk about.
Absolutely.
And I get we call it swing poetry.
Okay.
Because the ladies that swing, like Nelly Corda, for example, they tell you now, coaches will tell you, like, don't look at Bryson DeChambeau because you can't swing out of your shoes like that without snapping an ankle.
Yeah.
So look at somebody who has perfect rhythm and tempo and swing poetry. Watch Nelly Corda's swing.
I've often said in the game of golf, if you take a beginning male and a beginning female, she's going to get better faster because she's not out there trying to hit a 300-yard drive on her first day out. She's going to listen, she's going to learn, and she's going to hit the ball right down the middle, 125 yards, and then that increases over time, and she's happy. He is not that guy. He's going to hit that one about 220 and say, the next one I can make 250. And that next one go...
No, sometimes it goes 10 feet.
Well,
if you swing too hard, it might go 10 feet.
But
I've seen guys miss.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is the best part of my day when they get the big swing and whiff. Are you kidding me? So, but let's go back to this club throwing thing because there's an art form to it. You know, so I'm usually pretty jovial and funny when I'm out there playing, good or bad, it don't matter. And Greg will tell you, he was like, man, they know there's been times that I've just challenged myself because I swung too hard and the ball only went 30 yards. I'm going to prove to you that I can throw the club further than my ball. And it is absolutely hilarious. So, and I just give it a little, and I beat it by 5 yards on the flip, So if you're doing it in that manner, club throwing is hilarious. Now, there's been an issue where things get violent. Okay, that's where we have to draw the line. Yeah. And I've done that, but then I have to realize, yeah, man, you don't practice like that. You don't practice like that. You literally, so have fun with it.
How much money did you make at golf that day?
No, I'm in the negative because I paid. Probably bought something from the cart girl. And yeah, I'm
maybe a souvenir shirt or hat from the pro shop.
Deep in the hole, and then I paid to hit a shitty shot that way. So off we go, and that's what it, that's. So that's the comedy of it. At the end of the day, is you rarely get to practice. For me, I'm probably hitting the first shot with my shoes untied because I'm running from the car to the tee box late, getting there from wherever I'm coming from. And and
turn your hat around, put your change in your left pocket.
Let's go get
whatever it takes.
Let's go get it. So listen, man, it becomes more fun the older we get because I get to understand that. But I agree 1,000% that the female swing is what you want to copy, even as a man. Not to mention they're a lot easier to look at than Bryson, DeChambeau.
Watch the ladies swing. That's it.
Slow motion.
That's it.
It's perfect.
Or the guys on the senior tour.
Yeah, well, those guys are cool, man.
But their tempo is freaking perfect.
Tempo is awesome.
And they play, we lovingly call it old man golf, but they par every hole or better because they just hit it straight. They're never in trouble, right? They don't need the hero shot.
No.
And it's fun for us to hit a hero shot once in a while because that might be the shot that we're talking about on the 19th hole and 3 days later because, Ed hit one. Big Ed hit one. You met Ed at the Bridges.
Yes.
Ed hit one at Jacaranda a couple weekends ago, under a tree, over water, through a sand trap, and onto the green about 15 feet from the pin. And we don't care how it got there.
Don't care.
But it was, he played it off his back foot, and he hit it over the water, and it kind of skirted through the sand, and it landed on the green. And that was the shot we were talking about the next day.
Because the truth is that the shot prior to that,
he hit it into the tree.
Was the shittiest shot he hit in the day, probably.
He hit it into the tree, and it bounced back a little. So he had like a little window that he could put it through.
But those old fellas, they don't deal with that because they smack it right down the middle, 240, and they go out there and play the game. I call it that they play the game like they got a flask in their back pocket.
Well, either that or
or they're out there.
Coach Sean would say that's the way you're supposed to play.
Yeah,
you're supposed to give yourself the next shot to be easy, right? Yeah, and that's what he says. The most important shot in golf is the next one.
It is. It's amazing. Sometimes it's like in baseball, man. Sometimes you can see the spin on that ball, and it looks like in slow motion. The next time, it just looks like an aspirin coming at you. It's absolutely insane. But golf pisses you off because it's a little dimple ball that's sitting right there. It's not moving. Nobody's throwing it at you. And you can't hit that ball square sometime. And it's like, it's not even moving. I can hit an 88-mile-an-hour slider, but I can't hit this damn ball that's not moving. Oh, it drives you absolutely insane.
I made that exact point on my last podcast. I had Todd Patton, a friend of Curfton and I's, on there, and he said the same thing. And then did you watch Seinfeld at all?
Oh yeah, the show about nothing.
So when Kramer comes in and he throws his golf clubs down,
episode.
He goes, "You guys want these? Yeah. Kicks them. I don't want them. Yeah. It's a little white ball that's sitting there and I can't hit it."
And it's the truth. It's sitting right there. And you will literally swing and miss it. And it's just absolutely insane. But then there's days where I can see the tiny little dimple on the ball, and I can hit that dimple every time. And when I do that, I know it's going to be great.
Yeah, I only feel that way with putting usually because I get one day where I can make every putt. Yeah. I played in the Man Up tournament a few years ago with our friend Rich Thompson, who owns a big monstrous company that sells signage to like the Disneys and the Universals of the world and Panthers Stadium. Yeah. Super nice guy. You'd never know that he owned this kind of company unless you get to know him. And I hit the stick on like 8 of the holes in a charity tournament. Okay. So I hit first and I putt last. That's my role.
You brought the value.
Exactly.
You brought the value.
And, we still lost to somebody who shot us 50 or whatever the BS number.
They had a better pencil than you.
They did have
probably an eraser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only time I ever won won first in a golf tournament legitimately, I had 3 pros and me, pretty much. Okay. It was Sean Kicker, a guy named Brian who used to play professional soccer, and what was the other guy's name? The tall guy? Leon. And Leon, and so I hit my ball down the middle, and then they just swung away.
That's all we need.
And then they could actually putt too because they're pros. So it's like we made a birdie, an eagle on almost every hole, and we still got second place.
No.
And the team that beat us, they looked like they had never played golf ever before in their life.
But they probably had uniforms.
They had something.
Listen, these guys are now out here. They getting matching uniforms out here. They're a traveling team. We like, okay, so y'all are professional pencil whippers. Okay, I get it. Because you need to have these trophies on your mantelpiece, because you were unsuccessful in high school. That's just my opinion. Call me whatever, but yeah, I'm like, I call them the when you got to get your glory days when you get old.
I saw an interesting fix to
really
that.
Shitty.
What do you think about this? So they came up with, and I don't know who came up with it, so I apologize if I owe royalty fees somewhere, but at the end of the golf tournament for a charity,
I saw that.
The top 3 teams have to have a playoff on the 18th hole with everybody in the charity tournament watching.
Yeah.
Would that not fix the problem?
100%.
Curfton?
I love it.
It fixed the problem, right? So why don't I know charity tournament can be a long round and it's hot because it's South Florida and you got to battle the elements and the R word, which we don't use 4-letter words that start with R because golf is sacred.
Right.
But I think that would be a great way. What about for your Pompano Kappas? You want to do that and add that in?
Here's where the problem comes.
All right.
By the time you finally make it in off the 18th or whatever your 18th hole is, and you make it inside, all you're thinking about is, I hope the lunch is good, and they still better be serving drinks at that point. 90% of the people there don't care.
Yeah, I know.
It's only those guys that went in there with the game plan,
with the intent to win.
I think I've played on 2 of those teams in my entire life.
Yeah,
and I've played in tons of tournaments.
You and me both.
Most of them, man, we're out there. You're talking smack. You're having a good time. The last thing you're really worried about is, did we win? It's like, man, okay, man, that's a legit score. We're 9 under. Man, that was a damn good round. And you're happy till you go in there and find out that these people are like 24 under. It's like, what? What?
Let's go get our really nice swag and see what's in there that we can use and then get the heck out of there.
I'm going to say no for us because we're out there trying to have a good time.
Fun, yeah.
And everybody there, again, by that time, we're trying to come back in and see who won the 50-50 raffle. You break out your tickets.
And can you buy like a really nice charity foursome?
Exactly.
A club that you wouldn't normally get into, and then share it with your buddies or your clients or your family or whatever. Or
get a really cool Muhammad Ali poster that get donated out there for charity.
Maybe one that's signed with a certificate of authenticity.
Absolutely beautiful.
That's my man.
Somebody did that for us. I'm not going to point nobody out.
Try to help.
But either way, listen, we got to get out here and make the game more fun.
All right.
So how can we do that?
I mean, you already said it, right? You got drinks, you got cigars, you got pretty women out there.
Yes.
Some of them are playing golf, some of them are volunteering. That's always a draw.
It is a draw. It helps.
And, you have a couple of really nice auction items. You have cool people involved in it that you want to be hanging around.
That helps.
That's the most important thing to me. I mean, why play golf if you're not going to play with people you want to hang out, like Curfton and you and Greg and Dawn and all those, and Lou and all those guys.
The stories are still there because somebody's still going to hit that one miracle shot.
66-foot putt.
Somebody's going to hit that miracle shot, and that's those stories live. And you take a picture of the foursome, and hey, man, that's a great day, and it lives on.
Yeah, I got 2 stories for you then.
Let's go.
So these are two of my most favorite golf memories. So one time, Jen Davis, who's a really good friend of ours, she does business development for a medical company. She came, and it was her first ever 18 holes of golf.
Ooh.
She had been taking lessons at 6 Degrees and elsewhere and practicing. And I was playing with her, Tim Campbell, Lou Chiera, who you know from Winners. And I'm drawing a blank on our 4th. Anyway, so we're out there, and I call Tim ahead of time, and I say, Tim, I got an exploding ball in my pocket. I'm going to give you my phone, and you're going to record Jen's first shot.
Yeah.
So I walk up there. I tee up the ball for her. I said, first ever, I want to tee the ball up for you. And she thought it was a little weird in hindsight, but she just rolled with it. She hit a perfect, pure swing. It would have been, and of course, we're on the same team, so I felt a little bad. Because the swing was, and she's playing from the Reds, so we got the advantage. Because we got a girl that can hit the ball straight from 100 yards up on some holes. Yeah. The ball just and she turns and she goes, did I just blow up the ball? It was spectacular. And the second one, the tournament I told you I played in, Sean Kicker's my golf pro. Uh-huh. He runs First Tee of Broward. He's the director of operations for that charity.
Okay.
Before that, he was a head pro, Grand Palms, down in Miami, other Grand places. Palms. He's had a long career in the PGA of America as a PGA of America guy.
Okay.
And he's amazing out of the sand. He's a pro, right? When he hits out of the sand, he thinks not, can I get on the green or can I get out of the sand?
How close am I getting?
No, he's thinking it's going in.
Oh, okay.
He's that good out of the sand.
Yeah.
And you were with us, right? So Curfton was with us, and Curfton hit his, and it was a great shot, maybe 12 feet from the pin. Sean gets up and he hits it maybe 3 feet inside of Sean. And then I get up and, my sand shots are hit or miss.
Yeah.
But I put a perfect swing on this thing and I hit it inside of Sean's ball. So that day I won.
It could have been a fight.
That day I won. I won golf that day.
Yeah. Yes.
And so those are, I don't have a hole-in-one story yet.
No, me either.
But those I got. What do you got for us? Give us a Vince Bell golf hero story.
Well, I and Greg and I were playing in Parkland. It's closed now.
Okay. In Heron Bay?
Heron Bay. And I was in the trap, sitting there right up against the road, and he was like, I could only see the top half of you. And I hit this shot. Boom, and he talks about the fan of sand that just came out in slow motion, and the ball just went way up in the air and came and hit one bounce and rolled 2 feet into the cup. Ooh. I couldn't see it because I'm still down in the trap.
Sandy birdie?
And yes.
Ooh, and baby.
Actually, it was par.
That's okay too.
And he tells that story everywhere we go. For an amateur, I'm decent out of the sand.
I'll tell you what, I want to get Greg on here. He told me his albatross story.
Yes.
And that is, I'm not going to tell it. We're going to have to get our friend Greg on the show as a guest and have him tell it. But that's a really good story.
I got a couple of those. I did one at Osprey not too long ago. But again, it's when you get up there and you're looking for your ball and you're like, where's my ball? Because I think if you can see it, it ain't going in. It's only the ones you hit and you're like, okay, I know it's close. And then you get up there and you start counting balls. You're like, man, did I roll off? Shit.
That sounds like Mark Van Dyke's hole-in-one story, if you remember that, Curfton.
I've had a couple of very close hole-in-ones, like literally one with the shadow in the cup.
Ooh.
And I was like, guys, can I get that? The shadow's literally in the cup. Just wasn't for me over there. So I haven't yet to get a hole in one yet, but I definitely want one.
That just means we need to play more, obviously.
Obviously.
The more at bats.
Well, really, the people who play with me get them. I've been there 4 times when people has hit 4 holes in one. I'm like, this is terrible. When is it my turn? I know I'm the good luck charm, but damn it, I'd like to share in some of that success too. I'm deserving.
Well, obviously, we can share golf stories all day.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to talk about on the next couple podcasts, because I know you want to get into some stuff. You touched on a couple of things.
Yeah.
I think you accidentally said Diddy's name in one of them.
If I did, I probably said no Diddy.
No Diddy. Okay. I'm not saying that we need to go down the road of like, let's talk about the earth is flat. Or I'm not going to say that COVID shots did more harm than good. I'm not going to say... Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I'm agreeing with these conversations.
I'm just telling you things I'm not going to say.
But I'm also not going to say that we landed on the moon and somehow lost that technology and haven't been able to get back there for 60 years. I would never say anything like that.
No, of course not.
Never.
That would be ludicrous.
It would absolutely be just unfounded that we, the United States of America, lost the technology to go to the moon.
Sounds about right. And then, we wouldn't say that the CIA is responsible for presidential assassinations or anything like that, right?
That would definitely attract the wrong attention.
We would not say that.
Absolutely not.
So those are a lot of things. What about, we talked a little bit about nutrition and eating real food that you can pronounce. Are we going to get into, I'm going to bring in a couple of products and say, let me read these ingredients, mispronounce them all, and then we'll tell people, eat a steak instead?
I think that if we did that somebody might get educated. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
We don't want to do that. We don't want to talk about GMO products. We don't want to talk, hey man, is that a watermelon? Where's the seeds? Oh,
wait, watermelons are supposed to have seeds in them?
If they don't have those 3 letters to go with them, they normally do.
That sounds ludicrous.
We don't want to talk about that.
We don't want to talk about.
We're gonna tell it. We're gonna put the hashtag Don't Cancel Drew, and then we'll put another one, Don't Cancel Vince.
Yeah, because we are not talking about these things that's happening.
The podcast twins would never do such a thing.
Would never do such a thing and talk about how Diddy and Bill Cosby kind of parallel because they tried to do some. We wouldn't talk about that.
No, I don't.
We would not talk
that
about
one.
that.
You're gonna have to. We're gonna have to talk about that privately. I need to go smoke a cigar and get some whiskey for this or tequila or something.
I'm just saying. So if we do have a whiskey or a tequila sponsorship that wants to help us out, we would put it right here, and we would gladly sip your tequila or whiskey right here at this table.
What if we talk about how good the pulled pork at my house on Saturday was that you missed because it's all gone?
Well,
and the fact that my wife made homemade mac and cheese and my tricep is still sore from shredding all the cheese.
Well, yeah, that's called a good workout. But yeah, man, I had these 2 little 3-year-olds running around. They dominate your whole day, especially when you show up and you don't expect them.
I tell you, I think that I know a dozen people that I'm very close with that have grandkids, and the joy of being grandpa. I don't think that I know a lot of happy people in their 30s and 40s, but I don't know anybody as happy as a grandpa G-pop playing with the G-pips.
It's a beautiful thing. You get to, and you send them home.
That's part of the fun.
That's the best part, man. I mean, they usually come out and they spend the night, 2 nights, because we take them to swim lessons on Sunday, which is amazing. Take them to swim lessons, and then we take them to lunch somewhere, give them something really unhealthy and send them right home to their parent. And it's great.
My mom said a while ago when my son was born, probably not that long after he was born, maybe he was a year old or 2 years old, that if she had it to do over again, she would have just had grandkids and skipped over the kids.
Listen, it's so much better. The stress is lower. It's amazing. And they're great, man. So this whole grandparent thing is definitely all that it's cooked up to be. Your blood pressure is lower with the grandkids than with the regular kids. Your patience is there. It's amazing.
All right.
So but those we can talk about those.
No, well, that's a great way to end this episode. Yeah. And then we'll just get back at it on the next one.
I like it.
All right. Podcast Twins signing off.